Okay, here we are back again, and I shall proceed to do a fully worked up drawing of the stone I showed you earlier. So let's see how this goes. Okay. Just getting him nicely positioned so I can see the cast shadow there, which is going to form an important part of the drawing, of course. New page. Okay, same pen as I was using earlier. And starting loose and light, starting with looking, of course. Taking that necessary time just to do a bit of a evaluation. Thinking about where to position the main subject. This movement coming, of course, from that ball and socket joint in the shoulder creates the nice round lines. Knowing that any of these marks I make is not going to be erasable, because of course the pen is once the mark is made, you're committed to it. Nothing to worry about there, of course, because a drawing can be made up of many different thoughts and decisions. Quite sure how I'm going to deal with all this area up here. There's a lot of dark from the table, but let's just worry about that later. So my evaluation is usually based on the lightest light and the darkest dark, and how all those tones of grey in this case, I think it's a black pen, but it's a slightly, I feel like there's a slightly purplish tone to this ink, interestingly. I don't know what I was saying just then. Anyway, shades of grey in between the darkest dark, which is going to be, well, all this area is going to be the darkest dark. So this is going to be my key here. It's going to be the darkest dark, and the paper itself here is going to be the brightest bright, the lightest light. Everything else will be somewhere between that and that. Now all I have to do is render the surface, cover it with ink. When you render a wall with plaster, you create a surface. They use the term rendering with drawing, where you're covering it with a surface, which creates the illusion of three-dimensional space in this case, in this kind of drawing. aware that when I move the work around, I have to make sure I keep it in view. So what I'm doing is just turning it so I can get at this contour a little bit more easily. The other thing is, of course, the work is flat on the desk here. It's not the way I would normally work, or the way I would recommend that you work, because I always recommend to people that they tip the work up towards them so they don't get this kind of oblique view. But of course, because I need to have my work parallel with the camera, it's just stay flat on the table because of the way I've got everything set up at the moment. Anyway, it'll be fine. Just reminding you to think about how you're set up, because you don't have to worry about camera and all that sort of stuff. So you should be able to sit yourself comfortably and get your drawing board out. Make sure that whatever you're looking at to draw is easy to, there's least possible distance between the drawing and the object, so that you're just flicking your eyes up and down from your drawing to the object. And you can check and relate what you're drawing to the object as frequently and as easily as possible. Sort of not looking so much at what I'm drawing. I've made a decision that I need to get everything at least that tone and then develop the shading over this side. So this is just literally sort of some rendering to create a tone which I can then work into and develop into the value that I want it to be. Spot there where the shadow's at its darkest, right under the stone. I can see from my angle. So that really shows up the profile of the stone there, and then there's going to be a little bit that actually gets lost as a contour right here, because the tonal value of the shadow and the tonal value of the stone are the same, fascinatingly, just there. And then there'll come a point around about here where the value of the stone is darker than the value of the shadow. And as long as I'm faithful to the truth that I see, it'll all make sense. This illusion I'm creating on a flat surface of a three-dimensional object. Nothing quite like the sound of scribbling on a Sunday evening. Nice and relaxing. See how the shadow, well, sorry, you can't see how the shadow is more focused. Okay, no, you can't really see that, but you have to take my word for it. The shadow is very focused and sharp and dark right here. And it becomes lighter and softer at the edges, further away it gets from the object. It's cos physics in it. It's because of all the light that's bouncing around and reflecting into the shadow. But because this bit and this bit are in close proximity, those little photons of light can't travel around there so much, they get blocked out. It's a great exercise. Just finding something spherical. Could be an apple, could be an onion, or an orange, or a bouncy rubber ball, or a nice stone like this one. It's an incredible stone. I've had it for, oh my goodness, how long have I had this stone for? I picked it up from the river in Dent when I lived in Dent in the Yorkshire Dales back in the 1980s. And it's lived with me ever since. No, it's not lived with me because stones aren't alive, are they? Anyway, it's been my stone for all that time. Quite amazing really, isn't it? And up to that point, it rolled round and round and round and over and over and over for, goodness knows how long. To ask a geologist, how long would it take for a stone to become this amazing shape? Be a piece of limestone, I suppose. Crashing around in the river, knocking against the other stones, getting worn down. At some point, it just had all the corners knocked off it. Out came this beautiful, beautiful shape. Anyway, this, I don't know what it looks like on the, it's looking okay on the video, just having a quick peek there. Just in a short time, I don't know how long I've been, but in a short time I can create enough tonal value just to produce a quick drawing. And of course, if I was going to finesse this work, I'd just take longer over each little part of it. It's quite rough here, isn't it? It's got a lot of scribbly texture showing, and the edges are not particularly neat and smooth, but that's because I'm trying to get it done reasonably quickly so this video doesn't go on for too long. And it's probably at some point it could get quite boring just seeing me filling in the background. But you can see the way it's going. See how, what I would be doing. Just filling all this in. I'd probably put the radio on actually. Sit in here with the radio on. Listening to something on radio for a story or a nature programme or maybe gardener's question time or something like that, depending on what's on. And with that part of my mind occupied with listening to words, the rest of my mind is free to draw and escape. There we go. Look, shall I do any more? Shall I carry on? I'm not getting any feedback from anybody. It's quite strange really, sitting in here talking to myself. No one asking me challenging questions. Could get used to this. Anyway, I hope it's useful to you and it gets you going with your drawing. And when you've done your drawing, it's over to you to take your photograph, making sure that your phone, your iPad or whatever you use to take the photograph with, making sure that it is parallel with the drawing like this. Right. If I'm trying to take a photograph of my drawing, I need to, that's no good. That's because that would, oh, sorry, not able to show you that very well. Look, if I have the camera like that, it creates a distorted view of the drawing. But if it's nice and flat like that, it makes a nice, it keeps the drawing in the true, it's a true view of the drawing. So that's what I want you to do. What I'm going to do now, of course, is I can show you. Look, oh look, you can see my subject. Well, anyway, I'll take a proper photograph of that and send you that too. Okay, see you later.